My next guest certainly has something to say about Bitcoin's price action, the infrastructure bill. He has over 500,000 followers on Twitter. Please welcome Scott Melker, crypto trader and host of the Wolf of All Streets podcast. Sorry about that, Scott. All right. So taking a look at Bitcoin, love to give me your outlook on what we've seen, because despite this infrastructure bill, we have seen Bitcoin climbing like no other.
Yeah, I think that we had a long period of consolidation, obviously, after the major drop in May, which was a result of over-leveraged traders basically being rinsed. And now I think that we've exited that to the upside, so we should see more price appreciation in the coming days. As you mentioned, the infrastructure bill, which a lot of people view as bearish, well, price hasn't reacted bearishly. It's continued up. So I think there's a lot of cause to be excited and to think that we really are coming out of this temporary bear market, if you want to call it that, and should be heading up. I agree with some of the analysis that you actually shared earlier. I think we're hitting some resistance here, are overbought, and maybe we'll see a slight retrace, an opportunity for people who missed an entry to grab some Bitcoin on the dip.
Right. Well, I spoke to an analyst earlier this morning, and he said that potentially we're seeing a rise because the infrastructure could still be good, because it's still the United States spending a lot of money, injecting a lot of dollars into the economy, and that the crypto markets are a good hedge against that.
I absolutely view this as bullish, to be quite honest. It's astounding if you step back to think about the fact that a 2,700-page bill for $1 trillion was basically frozen for 3 days because of a small provision on cryptocurrency. If a year ago you had told me the U.S. Senate would be debating crypto, I would have told you that you were crazy. I think that we've made it. This has gone absolutely mainstream. And this amendment, this bill, is arguably the greatest advertisement that we've ever seen in the history of Bitcoin. The entire world is talking about it. And yes, the irony should also not be lost that we're talking about printing $1 trillion for infrastructure with nothing to pay for it, and talking about Bitcoin in the same breath. So I think that it's very important to realize that's the reason that Bitcoin is here in the first place.
So I'll bring up a tweet of yours. You tweeted, "We literally buy Bitcoin because the government is a complete and utter dumpster fire of a bleep show," which is on display before our eyes as crypto regulation is accidentally debated in a bill that has nothing to do with crypto. Don't you want to hedge against this nonsense? But I would say, doesn't this show that the government has an effect on the crypto industry that they just can't be ignored? Because this could potentially impact miners, validators, if the language isn't interpreted exactly the way one would think.
Well, that's my point. We're talking about one sentence in a 2,700-page bill that I guarantee some aide threw in there at the last second and was never considered by any single senator until the cryptocurrency community came in an uproar and realized what it could mean. I think it's important to step back and realize that just because the wording is poor doesn't mean that the intention was. This is an afterthought in this bill, in my mind. So they probably just threw it in there as a way to raise a bit more taxes and didn't even realize the implications of it. And I do think that it will be fixed in the House, or if it ends up at the court. And then the worst case scenario, we're talking about this being, instilled in 2023. It's going to be a non-issue by the time. I think that, like I said, this is very bullish. It's nice to hear them talking about it. And regulation is inevitable. We all know that it's coming. We all knew that it was coming. It's better that they're talking about it now than further down the road.
Switching topics back to Bitcoin, where does Bitcoin go from here? And do you see catalysts for the sustained upward price action?
Bitcoin's going to 7 figures. It's going to be a multi-million-dollar asset. And
but by the end of the year, or when are you predicting that?
No, but I don't think it matters if it happens by the end of the year. And I think that's a problem with a lot of investors. They have a short-term time frame and they don't really focus on the potential in the long term. I'm talking about in 10 or 20 years. And I truly believe that that will be the case. Even if you just account for the inflation of prices, if the price of goods in 20 years is 10 times what it is now, that would put Bitcoin at $450,000. Even if it never appreciated because of inflation. But if we're talking about for the end of the year, I think that we've exited the downtrend. I think that we will see new highs by the end of the year. It's a fool's errand to try to put dates on price targets because it doesn't matter to me. Like I said, I'm buying Bitcoin personally as a savings account for my children, for my grandchildren, to create generational wealth. It's not an asset that I'm interested in trading or exiting for a 10 or 20% gain. I think that it is a hedge against the nonsense of the dollar and the government. And so for me, I believe we're talking about 6-figure Bitcoin this year, multiple 6-figure Bitcoin next year, and 7-figure Bitcoin down the road.